This is another surprising segment. CNN did its own investigation and found that Israel was lying about the flower massacre. What? Really? 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 Like listening to their implausible story, on its face, you couldn't see it was a lie. But this is a surprising segment where they're calling Israel out. CNN debunks the lies told by Israel over the flower massacre. And like I said, this is a pretty shocking segment to be on CNN. But again, this is a testament to the protest, to the persistent, continuous protests that have pressured public sentiment to now the majority thinks that this is too much. This should be in. There should be a ceasefire. We do not support this, which now the corporate media has to play to that segment. So now you're seeing these really based segments. Here's another one.
It's early morning on February 29th on Al Rashid Road in northern Gaza. Thousands of starving people have gathered here to receive food. But as the aid trucks arrive, this happens. The night would become known as the Flower Massacre. By morning, over 100 would be dead in one of the single biggest mass casualty events of this conflict. CNN investigated this incident, obtaining never-seen-before videos of that night, collecting evidence from 22 eyewitnesses and tracing the aid itself all the way to a Muslim charity in the UK. It was the IDF that was then responsible for safely delivering these vital supplies. But we found they opened fire on unarmed, starving Palestinians at close range as the aid arrived. Their explanation for the tragedy using this drone video was a stampede that caused soldiers to fire warning shots in the air. They later admitted to firing some shots directly at so-called suspects who approached them. But the IDF footage is incomplete. It cuts between crowds surrounding the trucks and bodies lying on the ground. Even this reveals they were firing in a densely packed area, likely to cause severe bloodshed. CNN requested the full footage from the IDF, but it was denied.
Of course.
Jihad Abu Watfa was amongst the starving Palestinians.
They're liars.
And started filming as the trucks crossed into northern Gaza.
قررنا انه احنا نواجه خطا او مغامره بحياتنا من اجل الحصول على اي لقمه عيش لعائلاتنا.
Videos from Jihad and another key eyewitness, Bilal, indicate the gunfire started earlier than the IDF claimed. The IDF published this timeline saying the trucks arrived at the checkpoint at 4 a.m. They then crossed at 4:29, and only after that did the IDF fire shots at the crowd. But in Bilal's video, filmed 7 minutes earlier at 4:22 a.m., gunshots ring out. He warns there is a tank. The IDF claim the convoy was still stationary at the checkpoint at this time. Next, Jihad begins filming. It's now 4:28 a.m. and there's a barrage of gunfire, and the shots are close. Analysis by weapons experts of the bursts indicate it is heavy automatic gunfire at 600 rounds per minute. Jihad keeps filming. A tank is beside me. We're now under siege, he says. Moments later, you see a truck driving along the road. We spotted traces from the gunfire here. One can be seen ricocheting up here, according to weapons experts.
كان شعور جدا لا يوصف من خوف وارتباك وخايف لا سمح الله ترجع نازلك شهيد.
As day broke, the number of dead and injured that emerged was staggering. Interviews with survivors at hospitals afterwards found some people had been shot in the upper body. Amid the devastation, CNN found a clue as to who had delivered this aid. This box with the writing Ummah Welfare Trust.
This was the first time that the aid had reached northern Gaza, and we were very, very excited and happy that finally we had gone through.
They received the terrible news as to what had happened via WhatsApp.
I woke up to some photos with cardboard boxes of our logo, Ummah Welfare Trust, with bloodstains on them. And it came as a shock. This is the first time in 20 years where I've actually seen blood being mixed with aid.
In all, at least 118 died that day. With the UN struggling to access northern Gaza, the IDF are responsible for ensuring aid arrives safely. Despite this, the UN has documented 24 attacks on Palestinians awaiting aid in the last 3 months alone. For those like Jihad living on the verge of famine, it has led to a desperate fight for survival.
الحقيقة بدهم من الميت أنا أخذ أكل إلي والأطفال.
And now that fight becomes more challenging than ever.
Well, Erin, the IDF have not yet responded to CNN's questions on these findings. We've also asked for that full unedited drone footage, but those requests have been denied. And really, this investigation is calling into question the IDF's ability to safely distribute aid when it's clearly most desperately needed. Erin.
All right, Katie, thank you very much.
That is pretty base for them to do their investigation. They have footage where 7 minutes, or I forget the amount of minutes, but they have plenty of cell phone footage from people on the ground, eyewitnesses. I think they said something like 22 they spoke to. And they can have this physical proof. What do you mean? This started here. Here's video footage where, and the guy that you saw talking in other language, he was the guy who had the video footage saying, what do you mean? This was shot before that. When they said it started, this is before. Listen to how they're already shooting. What are you talking about? CNN report exposes Israeli lies surrounding flower massacre. The investigation showed Israeli forces opened fire on starving Palestinian waiting to receive bags of flour from a convoy of aid trucks on the 29th of February. And it says a new CNN investigation into the 29th February flower massacre has affirmed Palestinian eyewitnesses' accounts that Israeli forces opened fire on crowds of Palestinians seeking to obtain sacks of flour from aid trucks. The massacre, which took place at the Al-Nabi roundabout on the coastal Al-Rashid Street in Gaza City, left 118 dead and 760 injured. The Israeli military claimed its forces only opened fire in self-defense against Palestinians approaching its tanks at a checkpoint, and that most of the victims were killed in a stampede or run over by the aid trucks surrounded by desperate crowds. That was the lie they told. But according to the CNN investigation, Israeli forces opened fire on the crowd, causing the stampede, which everybody knew that's what happened. The stampede out of nowhere, shots fired, causes the stampede. Quote, the evidence reviewed by forensic and ballistic experts indicated that automatic gunfiring began before the IDF said the convoy had started crossing through the checkpoint, and that shots were fired within close range of the crowd that had gathered for food. A witness at the scene said the chaos and confusion that led to people being hit by the truck only started once Israeli soldiers began shooting, which was, of course, the deal. And then CNN doing their job, investigative journalism on Gaza flower massacre. That's just somebody in the tweet shouting it out. All right, let's continue. Another survivor, Zamil, I'll just use their last name, told CNN that he was shot at after receiving a bag of flour from one of the trucks starting. Quote, as soon as I carried the bag of flour and started to walk, they shot at me. Why would they do that unless the order is to make sure these people starve? You can bring the trucks in. Yeah, they're in. That doesn't mean they're going to get the food into their body. The Israeli military, I'm down here now. The Israeli, actually, I'll read all of this. The CNN report added that the Israeli military released drone footage of the incident, claiming to show that the stampede began before any Israeli forces opened fire, but the quality and editing of the video make it difficult to confirm their claims. The Israeli military rejected CNN's request for the complete, unedited drone footage of the incident. Of course they rejected that, because then it would show that they're liars and murderers and genociders. So of course they rejected that.